just delete the word prospect from your vocabulary. They're all future customers.
Future
customers. If you think of everybody as a future customer, you're going to treat them a lot better, and you're going to want to add as much value as possible on the front end.
This is part 2 of an amazing conversation. So if you want to be sure to hear the whole thing, make sure that you go back and listen to part 1, but please enjoy the rest of the conversation. Welcome to the Fractional Edge, the turbocharged podcast that's your one-way ticket to unlocking the full potential of your workforce planning. I'm your host, Carol Fraser, a workforce planning whiz, fractional chief human resources officer, and a CEO who's been around the block and probably tripped over a few HR manuals along the way. With over 4 successful ventures under my belt, I've mastered the art of navigating the challenges faced by small and medium-sized businesses like yours. Get ready to dive deep into the exhilarating world of fractional executive staffing strategies, where every twist and turn is designed to turbocharge your business success and leave you ready to supercharge your company. From hilarious success stories to side-splitting strategies, we've got the inside scoop to optimize your business and keep you grinning from ear to ear. Let's rev up those engines and dive headfirst into the fast lane of business brilliance.
When you talk about workforce planning, what comes to mind is, what is the trigger for a CEO to say, oh, I need to consider a fractional, or I need to consider making some planning, but I'm not really sure how. Have you seen a trend or some commonality across your CEOs that say, oh, we need to call in somebody?
Yeah. People usually don't change until it hurts so bad that they have to. And so it may be the CEO is burnt out. It may be somebody on their team quit. It may be they got really bad feedback from a client or a customer. And it's not like something needs to happen such that they go, let me see if I can. There are like 5 stages of the modern customer journey. And I'm going to quote Justin Welsh on this one. Says, I've been going through his Creator MBA course. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The 5 stages: problem unaware. They don't know they have a problem. Problem aware. I'm aware that there's a problem. Solution aware. I'm aware there's a solution, but not yours. And then you get them to product aware, where they're aware of your business. Like, why are you the right choice? And then most aware is like, I want your product, make me an offer so good I can't say no. And so they have to be problem aware for sure. And then they have to know that there's actually a way to solve it. Like, if they're burnt out or their team is stretched too far or they're lacking expertise, but like they don't even know fractional executives exist. This is where some of that educational marketing about like, what is a fractional executive? What would it be like to work with you? What's a case study? Do you have any testimonials? And pro tip for fractional executives and CEOs listening: when you get your testimonials from your beloved customers whose lives you magically transformed, don't have them just talk about how magically transformative it was. Have them start off the testimonial by saying why they almost didn't hire you. Because the person reading a testimonial is at this point where they're like, I don't know. Like, can I really trust them? Like, is it really going to be that good? It sounds really expensive. Like $10K a month, like that's a lot of money. And so I have a testimonial that says, hey, we were hesitant to hire one of the fractional executives because $10K a month was a lot of money, but it was totally worth it. And we got like 10x of return on that investment over the course of 6 months. We generated more than $600K in additional revenue. We now have a brand new CRM system that our company actually uses because nobody trusted the old one. But I, as a CEO, didn't even realize that because I was a little too far removed from the day-to-day operations. And now I have these color-coded dashboards for each of our sales reps to know how all the accounts are doing. And I'm able to run much more efficient one-on-one meetings. Highly recommend working with Malloy Industries. See, that's a pretty good testimonial. And that's a case study I kind of slipped in there as well from one of our customers. And by starting where the prospect is with like, what's an objection? And there's only like 6 total objections people have. And like, I don't have them memorized. I'm going to rattle them off, but like, why you wouldn't buy a $60,000 car is like the same reason why you wouldn't buy a $6 coffee. It's too expensive. I may not like the way it doesn't vibe with my story of self and who I think I am in the world. And so having an objection that just helps overcome, a testimonial that starts with each of those objections to overcome it, great way to boost your sales.
you mentioned the change thing, and I wish I could remember who said it. It's going to come to me probably while you're talking, but people only change for 4 reasons. It's they hurt enough that they have to, they see enough that they are inspired to, they learn enough that they want to, or they receive enough that they're able to. When I kind of found that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. More often than not, I think people experience the pain part and not necessarily the inspiration part or the abundance part. So I can see why if you can see the totality of how change can happen. And even if you're sitting in that, like, I've got all this stuff, what do I do? It's like, it's time to change. Don't just sit there on top of the money. Don't be, sitting on top there going, yeah, I've made my kingdom. It's like, at that point, okay, now what? And that's another great reason to bring fractional executives in. I say this to my clients all the time. Just like cat owners, many times CEOs go nose blind and they don't smell it anymore. And so when you get somebody in that goes, you don't smell that? You actually can help them, increase their awareness.
A fresh sense of smell, if you will.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to put that one in my pocket for later. That's a good one, Carol.
Sure.
I love the 4 reasons people change. Like, I only really think about the first one. And so I jotted that down, learned a little bit. There is a book summary that I'll share in the show notes or afterwards on a book called Catalyst. And there's like 5 ways like how to get people to change. You reduce reactants. You kind of provide a menu of like what they could do, or you ask them what they might consider. You tell them, and kind of start by understanding. Putting empathy on there. Second one is you ease endowment. So like highlight the cost of inaction or burn the ships. Like if there's no way to even do the thing you used to do, like you used to smoke cigarettes, now there's no cigarettes or something, like, you just throw them away. The third one is you shrink distance. So instead of being like, you have to like radically change and like be a marathon runner, let's just say, hey, you want to walk around the block like 3 times a week and we can listen to a podcast or, talk about something. All right. So you find this like movable middle where you ask for less. And if they're like really stuck in on something, okay, switch. Like, don't try to bring them out of that gear shift. Part 4 is you alleviate uncertainty. And this is also something we do with fractional executives where there's like trialability, easier to try, easier to buy. And I like to joke in our matchmaking business, like the product demo is meeting the fractional executive. Like all I have to do is be like, hey, I got some people that are super smart. I understand your problem. I know that they're the right ones to solve it. Let me just get you in a room with them for 30 minutes. And then they make the magic happen. And you can also make it reversible too. Like one of the things we offer is like a 2nd month free guarantee. So if you work with somebody and for any reason it's like terrible and it did not go well and you are not happy, we'll find a different fractional executive and we'll give you a 2nd month for free. Because we want you to be satisfied. We want you to find the right fit. And by alleviating that uncertainty, people are more likely, to make that purchase. And then the last one is just to find corroborating evidence. So like people are much more likely to do things when they know other people like them do it, or, aligns with that story of self. When like, it's kind of like, do you want little drops coming in and they're reminded that they should change every day, or like an intervention with a sign, like, hey, it's all coming in at once. Like kind of the difference between like a sprinkler or a fire hose. So very cool thoughts through on like how to help people change. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Laurie, you got another one?
Sorry, I had myself on mute. The one thing that keeps coming through my mind, I know we touched about the time at which, or the driver that has a CEO come and say, I need something. What are you seeing as are you seeing any differences? And if so, what are they between, say, younger CEOs and more experienced CEOs in certain stages of the company, different kinds of funding, bootstrapped? Is there a difference in who seems the most receptive to go through some of these stages that you guys were talking about?
Great question. I do think It all depends, and for the, let's say, less experienced CEOs, they have to be humble. They have to like realize they don't know what they don't know. Like,
yeah, but come on, are entrepreneurs ever humble? Sorry, just interjecting.
Touche. At the very least, they should know that there are people on the planet smarter than them in certain areas. And I guess this is true for the young or the old. Like, there are also some more established entrepreneurs, on their third, fourth, fifth story in life, where like they think they know everything. Like, hey, when we did it, back in my day, and I was walking up the hill both ways in the snow, and I've hit friction there, and I haven't necessarily overcome all of those objections. Or, hey, we've got somebody great in the chief revenue officer role. Like, I don't want to step on his toes because he's got 30 years of experience, and he might feel like I don't trust him if we bring in somebody else. And I said, well, that's no, it's interesting, but like, we're here to like add gas on the fire and like up and to the right, dramatically increase the sales. And I don't think there's anybody could have on their team who knows all the answers to all the things or has all the time to do all of the things. And think through like, what is the strategy and execution there? We have found that as companies are preparing to raise a Series A or a Series B, maybe a seed round, but primarily like heading into Series A, Series B, there are certain milestones that they know they need to hit to have success out there on the road. And oftentimes fractional executives are great to bring in when the CEO has to context switch and now be in investor mode for the next 3 months, which is really 9 months, by the way. And it is a full-time job just to be doing the fundraising. And if you were the chief salesperson making it rain and you're not able to do most of those meetings anymore, you need a grown-up. You can't just get like an SDR 22-year-old to, think they're and also no one is ever going to sell as great as the CEO. Like, there's a reason. And to actually get that Series A or Series B money, like, you need to prove you can sell to strangers on the internet, not your college buddies or your first connection ties of people you already know. Because, all things being equal, people do business with people they like. Even if they're unequal, they'll still do business with people they like, But for a stranger to get to know, like, and trust you, that goes a long way for showing to investors that, hey, you can scale what you're building. We've also found that some of our best clients have been investor referrals. So like, if somebody puts $25K, $100K, couple $100,000, $1 million in your business, they are very much highly aligned with, they want you to be successful. They want you to hit these milestones. And they also know that as the CEO, you need to shuffle up. And like, what you were doing with a team of 5 to 10 should not be the same thing you're doing as you have 25 on your way to 50 or 100 employees. And that they, as the investor, can't be around all of the time. But I happen to have a lot of good friends that are investors that know, hey, they trust me. I've, been around a long time. I may have, gone bankrupt along the way, but I learned a lot through that. And, I think 24 of our 27 investors would still recommend me for things. Pretty good math. And so as you're thinking through like, hey, how do we support our portfolio companies? And this is both like individual angel investors just writing checks, angel groups, but even the VC firms as well. Like, the portfolio ops team that's supposed to support the, 10 to 100 portfolio companies, it's usually like 1 or 2 humans. How are they supposed to help in all of the things? And so, we've also found a nice niche of positioning ourselves as a trusted advisor. And not only do I have great jokes, I have great resources, and, I'm happy to chat with entrepreneurs, understand where they're at. And I'm not going to like sell you, hey, you definitely get a fractional executive, or like the world's going to blow up. Like, no, maybe you don't. Like, hey, can I just like give you a Google Doc tool that you can use to fill out to like audit your sales letters? Carol, make a note. I'll share, I've got like how to write $1 million sales letter, that thing that I'll put in the show notes as well. And I call these things, by the way, valuable trust building gifts. I don't like the lead magnet. And I was working with a sales coach who's actually one of our fractional executives, Mark Finnick, the other day. And he's like, just delete the word prospect from your vocabulary. They're all future customers. Future customers. If you think of everybody as a future customer, you're going to treat them a lot better. And you're going to want to add as much value as possible on the front end. And just know that it'll work itself out on the back end, because, maybe they hire you, maybe they don't. Maybe 6 months later, they refer you to their college roommate who becomes your biggest customer.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe they're all turning into referral partners.
Yeah, exactly. And like, when I try to dig into a business, like, who's your ICP, who you're signed to, like, I immediately think of like, okay, who do I know that like I can just make an intro before we're even working together? Like, can I get you a sale? Can I get somebody moving through your funnel? just to help generate that goodwill and know that, I'm not ticky-tack guy with a quid pro quo, whatever. Like, no, I'm a giver. I'm a relentlessly generous. Like, our number one core value is relentlessly generous. Like, how can we give and give and give and give so that, like, it would just be silly to not work with us?
So if you had to give 3 pieces of advice to our listeners, which are primarily people who are building their businesses, or they already have successful businesses, or they are leaders going, what is this fractional frickin' movement? What 3 pieces of advice would you offer them?
Great question, Carol. I appreciate you asking that. I would start off by saying, have a forwardable email written in the third person about what you do that you can send to every single person after you meet with them so that they can refer you to your ideal client profile. And making it easy. I'm amazed at how many people are like, oh yeah, I'll send you a follow, but like they don't actually send me anything, or it's like written in the first person and it's awkward because like I'm not the one, I don't actually do that. And so like we thought of like, how do you want, it's kind of like the kindergarten game of telephone where like whispers in the ears, like make it as easy as
completely different.
Yeah, as easy, like the quick brown fox, like, okay, very simple. Not, well, let me use, 50-cent words as I magnificify, so that's one, is like make it easy to refer. 2, think about the large problem that you solve and identify a really little problem that most people who need this big problem solved also need this little problem solved. And think about how you might be able to create a valuable trust building gift, whether that's a video or a PDF or a toolkit or an email series, or even just like a one-on-one meeting that helps somebody solve that problem. And now by them solving that problem and using that thing you gave them for free, they're now more qualified to be your customer. And this is true for fractional executives. It's true for clients, future customers, any type of business. Like, you're solving a big thing. What's a little thing that if, hey, that's solved, they're now problem aware, may even be solution or product aware. You're moving down that funnel and start to ascend your value ladder of, what are the ways that you can create value. And piece of advice number 3 would be to ask every single person you meet, what can I do to help you? And listen, and just like be open to they may need carpooling to soccer practice next week, or, or they're going to Ireland and need recommendations. I got Ireland recommendations. I lived there for 5 months. Sure. Finding ways to just add value and help people. I love my man, Zig Ziglar. He said, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want.
Yeah, I heard recently someone said, if you want to know who your best referral partner is, help somebody with their family, right? So help if they say, look, my brother needs this or my mom needs that. That may not even be what your magic is, but if you can help them, they will support you, whether they know everything about you or not, because you helped one of their family members. And that to almost anybody is golden.
Carol, I love that. And I will share a true story from last week. There's a woman who I'm connected with on LinkedIn. And so there's a side tip of like, connect with everybody on LinkedIn because you never know. I haven't talked to this woman in, 8 or 9 years. She was from my like sunglasses era. And she was like, hey, I noticed on LinkedIn you're connected with this other guy who's also from that sunglasses era. And that guy who I haven't talked to in 8 years is now the like head of HR at SpaceX. And so I want to reach out. She was like, my little brother is applying to this job at SpaceX. And like, do you know this guy well enough to put in a good word? I also have a policy that if you find somebody I'm connected to on LinkedIn and you want an intro, I will at least ask. Like, it doesn't hurt to ask. This is called the loose ties. those like I'm kept up with these people a long time. But I was like, hey, so I was like, yeah, send me a forwardable blurb, make it easy. It was a third person. He gave me his resume, gave me some, cover letter context for his projects that he'd done. And I sent it over and it took 40 minutes. And the guy replied, hey, this is great. I just sent it over to the recruiter in charge of that. Like, I'll let you know as soon as I hear back. And I replied back to my friend and her brother and was like, hey, look at this. Here you go. She was like, oh my God, it's a home run. Like, and if you just do that all day, and I have a tag in my main one, just like networking or help needed, and I'll just like go through and, hey, what connections can I do? And it's always a double opt-in intro. There's a lesson here too. Like, don't just forward it right away and like connect the people. And then it's awkward. I'm like, oh, I didn't really want to talk to this person. And so like, So it's always double opt in. But 90% of the time, the people opt in. And of that 10%, I would say 5% of the time, they didn't see the email. So I always say MRI, most respectable interpretation. I assume that the person was going to the bathroom, read it on their phone, had every intention of replying, but finished going to the bathroom. And then it was marked as read and fell down their inbox. And so that's why they didn't respond in 3 to 5 days. So I just reply to that thread and say, bubbling this back up to the top of your inbox. I used to say, because I know you're busy, but I nixed that because I don't want to remind them they're busy. I want to pre-frame that they're busy. I say, bubbling this back up to the top of your inbox because I'm sure you had an action-packed week. And like action-packed, like it's fun. We're doing great. And I'll do that every 3 to 7 days until someone explicitly says like, no, I'm not interested, or no, I don't want to talk to that person. And that's fine. But like, I almost never get those responses. It's just like, oh, sorry, I missed you. Yeah.
I love that. I love the bubbling back up because it's unique. It catches the attention. And I think a lot of people struggle with how do I make myself memorable? And that is something
that one's very easy. You have a PS in your emails and you insert the dad joke of the day. I don't know anybody else who tells jokes in the majority of their emails.
Can I source them from you?
Yeah, you sure can.
Mom jokes, all right?
No. Mom jokes are good jokes. When you talk about abundance or you talk about helping people, it reminds me a lot of what kind of permeates all fractional conversations and actually any kind of conversation in terms of networking, which is give to get. Give before you get, right?
Yeah.
Give
first.
And it's similar to volunteering, right? You get so much more joy out of being able to help somebody than to ask for a favor.
Totally.
So we've talked a lot about fractional, about your business and try to understand what works, what doesn't work in terms of fractional. I was wondering, what one question do you wish we had asked you?
Well, I really wish that you would have asked me, what noise does a 747 make when it bounces? To that, I would probably reply, Boeing, Boeing, Boeing.
That's not fair. Believe it or not, I now uncheck. They have on travel sites, they have the ability to find the model airplane, and I'm unchecking the 737 Max.
Right. Yeah.
The only other question I might throw out there is just like, where can we find you? Like, how can we follow up? And I would say, malloyindustries.com/pod for podcast is kind of a great place to go. We'll put the resources for this one, and you can learn more about our business, fractional executive matchmaking. Whether you're fractional executive, especially if you're a fractional sales executive that serves B2B SaaS companies, that's definitely our niche. We do celebrate the whole catalog as well. And yeah, Carol, I'll give you some valuable trust building gifts. I think we talked about like the $1 million sales letter and that Catalyst book summary. And I do have a daily dad joke email newsletter that we started. We launched it on Thanksgiving. It is great. I love putting this thing together.
What was today's joke?
Well, Humpty Dumpty, he had like a pretty bad summer. It kind of sucked, but he had a great fall.
Good Lord.
Hey, Mike, do you make these up all by yourself or?
No, I am Austin Kleon, steal like an artist. I pull them from all the different places. I have a page a day calendar. My dad, let's see. Yeah. My dad recently sent me this one. So he runs in the family, and I just like go through and I kind of star the ones that are pretty good. And Tina helps run this newsletter. And what's fun about the email newsletter is like the listeners here can subscribe at different dates. It's not the same joke to everybody each day. It's a drip campaign, and we're now up to like 60 or 70 jokes. But like, if you started the day you listen to this, it's gonna be different than people who've been listening since Thanksgiving.
I only know one dad joke.
Oh, what you got, Carol?
How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
Oh, I don't know. This is a new one for me.
Tentacles.
That is good.
That
Both
is good.
of you have delivery down pat. I'm not a joke teller, so I will enjoy your dad jokes over and over and over again.
Oh,
Awesome.
Well, I want to thank you both. Thank you, Laurie, for co-hosting. Thank you, Mike, for being our first guest of season 2. This is a laughable one. This is going to be a good one to start the season off. Again, thank you, all of our listeners. Be sure you share with your friends, get them to subscribe. We are always looking to talk to people, both CEOs and fractionals, who are interested in the movement that's happening here. So thank you all for listening and have a great day.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Fractional Edge podcast. We hope you had as much fun as we did in unraveling the mysteries of workforce planning and fractional executives. If you're feeling pumped to unleash your competitive edge, don't forget to hit that like button, share with your fellow trailblazers, and subscribe to ensure you never miss out on our electrifying episodes. If you want to dive deeper into the wisdom shared on today's podcast, head over to our website, thefractionaledge.com, where we can help you connect with guests, explore exciting collaboration opportunities, and subscribe to our newsletter. Until next time, keep your business soaring, take care, stay inspired, and we'll see you on our next podcast.